The animation for DC kind of is really terrible now. So I grew up with the John Stewart Green Lantern, the one that was in the Justice League animated series, and I really liked that character. It's one of the reasons I became a fan of the Green Lantern. And then unfortunately, there was a whole Ryan Reynolds situation where the character was sort of sent to the Shadow Realm for a while. Now it seems like DC is attempting to slowly bring back the character Green Lantern and base it around John Stewart. So that's what this movie was. It's a John Stewart origin story. And despite some of the reviews being a little bit on the lukewarm side, I actually thought this movie did a lot right and I really enjoyed it. Now I do want to get something out of the way right off the bat. The animation in this movie, and I have not watched a DC animated film in a while, so I don't know if this is the case, but I did notice this same issue with the Young Justice cartoon, the most recent season, and then also season 3. The animation for DC kind of is really terrible now. I don't quite know when that happened. I don't know how much budget cuts are happening with this department, because DC animated films used to be guaranteed bangers every single time, and they've sort of lost their way a little bit. And I don't know if that contributed to why they sort of started cutting the budget, but it's disappointing because the still frames, like the still animated, just the drawings, those look great. Those look like they could be paintings. They look like pure artwork. Unfortunately, when things are in motion, they sort of look really bad, just like cheap, not well done, very, very cheap. And it's unfortunate because I think the story in this movie, which I'm going to spoil, so spoilers coming up pretty soon. But I think the story in a film like this, in an animated movie like this, is actually really interesting, and I sort of just wish the actual animation was better so that it matched what I thought was a pretty high quality story. So here are the spoilers. I think one of the most controversial aspects of this Green Lantern movie is that basically Hal Jordan is done. Like, they kill him off. He's not going to be the Green Lantern going forward, I don't think. I think this is their way of sort of burying that part of the DC universe, kind of going forward with the character that hasn't gotten that much recognition since the Justice League Unlimited days, like fucking early 2000s, 90s cartoon days, which, like, I don't even know what the age range of people is that even know that character, that version of Green Lantern, but for me, it's really cool to see that character brought back. It was interesting, the twist of the Hal Jordan being the villain in this movie, or being the real villain, because they still sort of found a way to write around him just being straight up evil, since Sinestro, like, possesses him with something, and that makes Hal actually go evil. I did think the, like, Omega Green Lantern that he turned into, like, I don't read the comics, I'm so sorry if I'm, like, completely slandering the name of that version. I've never seen that version of Hal Jordan before either, but I thought the design of that version of Green Lantern was super cool. It looked like fucking Michael Jordan with, like, all the Green Lantern rings on his hand. It looked so awesome. My only question is that he and John Stewart were, like, exactly the same level of power for a while, and then John Stewart is just stronger. I'm trying, like, in my mind to find a way to justify how that could be possible. How Hal Jordan with, like, 10 Green Lantern rings could be weaker than John Stewart with 1. And the only thing I could think of is that the Green Lantern ring is powered by will, and that when the will starts to waver of, like, the pure of heart sort of, you know, people that are sought out for the Green Lantern rings, when that starts to waver, then the person's powers are less. And so because John Stewart didn't waver, or his will actually got stronger, and Hal's was getting weaker because he was, like, killing people and all that kind of stuff, maybe that's how John Stewart ended up being stronger than Hal Jordan with, like, a bunch of Green Lantern rings. The visual of it was kind of strange because they build up, like, this super version of Hal Jordan, and then it turns out that he's actually not that strong. Actually, Green Arrow kills him, which is, I think, my only other problem with this movie, is that they go through this whole thing about Green Arrow and Green Lantern being, like, best friends, even though it's, like, literally never shown in the movie. And again, I guess if you're a casual viewer, maybe in the comics they are super good friends. I do not recall a scenario where they were ever best friends, but they certainly play it up like Green Arrow had this horrible decision he had to make, which it works in the movie. Like, it's still emotional. I just don't remember them ever being like inseparable best friends. One of the bits of continuity that I did like was Hawkgirl and John Stewart Green Lantern romantic relationship, hinting at that. I thought that was great. For anybody that watched the old Justice League cartoon, that was part of it. Those two have a relationship. They have a relationship in the comics as well. And it was just really cool to see that hinted at. The other thing that they hinted at towards the end of this movie, which I don't remember her name, but the Green Lantern rings basically fly off and find new owners at the end of the film. I am thinking or hopeful that one of the new owners is going to be Stephanie Ramirez. I should look it up. I know I should look it up. I'm really sorry. But I think that'd be really cool. She's a very interesting character. I don't know what they're doing about like Guy Gardner. Like, I don't know how far they're going to take following up on who each of the rings goes to. But I thought it was a really cool ending for the movie. Overall, I thought this movie was actually pretty good. And for like DC animated standards lately, I thought this felt like a step finally in the right direction again. It was a little jarring to hear this John Stewart voice and not the one from Justice League, because I got really used to that one, but it's still a good John Stewart. It's actually the guy who played Hawkman and Black Adam. He does a good job. Just a little bit weird not hearing the guy that I grew up with when I was watching the cartoons. So if you are a John Stewart Green Lantern fan like me and you have been wanting to see this character given a little bit more shine and hopefully maybe take center stage going forward, at least with some of these animated movies, or if they choose to ever give this character a second chance in the DC universe, this is worth checking out. It's an interesting origin story. It's got some really good action. It's got some pretty good writing, a little cringy here and there, but I thought the plot overall worked and it was enjoyable. And that's really all I'm looking for from a movie like this.